Hey guys, it's Hannah Ray, and for the past few months, I've been interviewing denominational leaders from all around the world, asking them, what is the true church? If you'd like to learn more about this project, please click the link in the description box below to purchase the True Church book, Revealing Jesus His Way. Here is a clip of my interview with Jews for Jesus. I was introduced to Jews for Jesus on YouTube. I can't remember what the YouTube channel was called, but they were doing work in Tel Aviv and they were explaining why they use the term Messianic Jew instead of Christian. Could you explain? I know not every Jewish believer in Jesus prefers to use the term Messianic Jew over Christian, but could you explain a little bit why that is? And then also the semantics between church and congregation.
Let's try to unpack that. There's quite a lot there. I think the pages you're referring to is So Be It.
So Be It.
Jeff and Alicia, co-workers. So when we use terms, I think there's a lot to do with identity. And it's funny sometimes how we perceive our own culture and the place we grew up and our surroundings and circumstances as, that's just how things are. But the truth is that if we have broader perspective on this, people are coming from different cultures and there's context, there's history. And each person's journey is unique to itself, but also to its culture and where it's coming from. And so we have to realize that before we even touch the subject. And because we are talking about Jewish believers in Jesus, this topic of identity is a crucial one, and it's a complex one. And so, first of all, I think there is complexity of identity. To be Jewish person and to believe in Jesus is nothing less than a miracle. But of course, again, any person who comes to faith is a miracle. But I would argue that the prejudice, the ignorance, the emotional baggage, and the pain that Jewish people carry and have when it comes to Jesus in the New Testament are enormous. And this is because, again, the context. So for hundreds of years, people who claimed to be Christians persecuted Jewish people. So when you meet a Jewish person, an Israeli, intuitively, when you speak about Jesus, what we have on our minds is anti-Semitism, crusades, Inquisition, the Holocaust, which we associate with Christianity.
Wow.
Now, this is traumas upon traumas of hundreds of years, generations upon generations. Now, we all have families from the Holocaust. I myself, my family survived the Holocaust. And so it's very painful, and there's a lot of emotional baggage to even start a conversation about Jesus with Jewish people. And this tension, this complexity, then I think is reflecting itself in the terms that we use to identify ourselves. And so this is the background of it all. So as you said, some Jewish people refer to themselves as Messianic Jews. I refer to myself as a Jewish believer in Jesus. But again, I'm coming from Israel, so a bit different culture and context. So for me, Christian, there's a lot of semantics there. And that's also another point that needs to be said, is how do you, Messianic Jews perhaps in the UK might mean one thing, in the States another, and in Israel so semantics are funny as well, the terms that we use. But eventually, what is Christian? It's just a term meaning follower of Christ, Christos, the anointed one, the Messiah, Mashiach in Hebrew, which is a Hebrew concept to start with. So you might meet Jewish people who refer to themselves as Messianic. Some are just as Jewish believers in Jesus, some as evangelicals, or different denominations, and that's fine. So this is just about how we identify. But the complexity there has to do with the history and the context and the emotional baggage. That also is very relevant when you share the gospel with Jewish people. So in this context, how would you even start a conversation about the gospel? And I say to my wife sometimes, you can't do this work, reaching out to Jewish people with the gospel, unless you have a clear sense of calling from God to do this, because this field is hard work. Before you even started a conversation, when people just hear that I'm a Jewish believer in Jesus, all the all the bells are ringing, because how is this possible that most Jewish people, generally speaking, don't know that you can be Jewish and believe in Jesus to start with, and then you have to explain, kind of go through all this emotional kind of baggage, and kind of explain all these people who did terrible things. There's nothing to do with Jesus or the New Testament. On the contrary, the New Testament is a Jewish document written by Jewish people.
Right.
To Jewish people at first, in the what was the word? In the idea and mentality, Jewish mentality of Second Temple period, and so the whole story is Jewish. And in fact, I would even say, for the sake of the conversation, that to believe in the Jewish Messiah according to the Jewish scripture, according to our Jewish prophets, is the very completion of the faith in the God of Israel. So there's nothing more Jewish than to believe in the Jewish Messiah.
Wow. No, that's so good. And it was even making me emotional as you were speaking about it, because all of those things that happened, as you were saying, it has nothing to do with Jesus or the New Testament. It was people perverting the Gospels and using his name to fulfill their own agendas. But it's something that we need to understand, that when we're talking to different people groups, we're not only just speaking to them, but speaking to all the things that they've gone through, or all the things that they experience, and the ideologies that come with Jesus and all of those things. Even in the Black community, because of slavery, a lot of people are like, no, I'm never going to become a Christian, because they used Christianity to oppress us. So when we're speaking to people, we're not only just speaking to them, but speaking to their history and the traumas and all of those things. So thank you for highlighting that. And it's a really important thing for us to remember as we're spreading the gospel.